People are really upset about this video apparently. I'm not really sure what I mean, I guess like so basically like MrBeast has like this friend Chris, and like Chris is transitioning to being a woman because they're transsexual or something, and people are go like I see so many fucking posts about this on my Twitter. It is crazy. It's like there's and what's so crazy to me about it is the fact that like there will be posts that'll be like, wow, you know, I feel so bad for his kids. He's ruining his kid's life. He's gonna regret this so much. This is horrible. And like it'll have 50,000 likes, right, or 80,000 likes. And then I'll see, you know, a comment about how like everybody who says that is like a fucking loser that lives in their mom's basement, and you know, Chris is beautiful, and you know, he's the best, and you know, I wish all the best for him. And that has 50,000, 80,000 likes. Like it's very divided, very divisive topic that people have.
This Tyson situation could become a complete disaster for MrBeast brand. However, it may also provide some unique benefits.
Okay.
So let's begin by going over the drama before explaining exactly how this will impact the MrBeast channel.
Sure.
In mid-2022, fans began to notice that Chris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential southern gun and truck loving dude. Yet beginning in March 2022, Chris began to display increasingly feminine traits, making tweets such as,
I mean, I'm gonna be real, like everybody paints their nails now. Like I'm pretty sure Tectone's a dude, you know? And he paints his nails. The only time I ever got my nails painted was there was one time we were at the fair, and there was a hot girl from my school that was there, and she wanted to paint my nails, and I let her do it. And then my dad found out, and he saw my nails. He's like, what's up with that? And I explained the situation to him, and he said, okay, that's good. He's like, good call. That's the only time I've ever done it.
I finally got my nails done at a nail tech. Additionally, Chris would highlight that his facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic, which accompanied another post reading, okay, so in 4 different customs I had to prove I was myself because I, quote, look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance? Prompting replies such as, you went from man to boy. Chris responded by stating,
of course, bro. Of course, from this guy, like you see, he's got the plaid shirt on. Bro, you know that beard is down to here. Like, he's got the trucker hat. You're goddamn right, brother. Uh-huh. Yeah. This dude plays classic, guaranteed.
nah, to be honest, I just really started taking my mental health seriously and eating better. Yet his Twitter photos kept insinuating that Chris was becoming more feminine, with this same kind of look showing up in his MrBeast appearances. For example, on the 6th of January 2023, Beast Reacts uploaded a video titled I Strapped a GoPro to a Fish, in which Chris
How wouldn't it come off the fish?
dressed in a way that prompted comments such as, Chris has been adopting more and more traits that remind me of my grandmother. Okay, so some
To be fair with that one, I mean, people say that about me, but okay.
people just gonna ignore Chris's nails. Chris had to have lost a bet. The look is getting wild.
Yeah.
The response to the video then prompted...
Which I feel like those comments, I mean, it's just, I don't think there's anything wrong with those comments. I mean, it's not like they're hateful or divisive or... they're not meant to hurt the guy, right? It's just people that are making comments, at least so far.
Countless viral TikToks, such as this one with 700,000 likes, stating how did Chris go from this to this, while others even made the claim that Carl had turned him gay.
Carl made Chris gay. You know, the people that are thinking that, they're like, this is like an idea they thought about at lunch in middle school. Like sitting around the table like, well, you know, Carl was gay and maybe he made Chris gay. Maybe he caught gay from Carl. Oh my god.
Now, this was pretty ridiculous as Carl isn't even that feminine, and Chris had come out as bisexual
I mean, is Carl... I don't even know if Carl's gay. I have no idea.
years before he and Carl had even met. The true catalyst for Chris Tyson's feminization instead seemed to have come from his marriage. In January 2022, Chris would post a photo with his wife to his Instagram, yet after this, the family photo stopped altogether. Fans also noticed that he'd removed his wedding ring, with the ring's absence correlating perfectly with the very first post in which he'd painted his nails. Chris confirmed the split in a post from March 2023 reading, "For a little over a year now, me and Katie have been separated," with this also confirming that Chris's transformation began as soon as his marriage came to an end. Chris went from lighting campfires and raising a family with his beautiful wife to now trying to be a wife with his man buns and long
God, I don't know about that last part. That's oh man, that's a bit too close. I don't know about that. That is, yeah. I mean that's not it. I will say that, like, I mean, whenever somebody gets divorced, I think that it's not out of the question, but I don't think that it's necessarily true that it's like the reason why Chris got divorced is so he could transition because his wife wasn't okay with it. Like, I bet that probably wasn't the only issue, and I don't know. I think that also, like, I've known people that have gotten divorced and it's like completely reoriented their life. And it's like, it could be because, like, after that, he's like, oh, I'm finally going to be me now or something. Now, there could be a lot to it. And I mean, really, like, this is just one of the negative things about being like a public person, is that whenever you break up with somebody, everybody is going to have a reason for it, even if you don't provide one. And it always sucks whenever that, because this happened with me, right? Whenever people provide a reason and then the reason isn't true. But like they're not satisfied with there just being a, uncertainty of it. Could have been lying to himself his whole life before after that he's not the person his wife married. Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance that, and I think that's fine. Like, there's nothing, I don't think should be any hate for his wife or something. Like, marrying a guy and then the guy wanting to be a woman, I think that's a huge transition in life. And, some people are attracted to men, some people are attracted to women. I think that's totally fair. But it's a really complex issue, and I think I'm sure, like, it's hard for both of them. Like, regardless of, like, how much they want to compromise, it's still going to be hard.
As the criticism continued to pile, Chris announced that he'd be taking a break from social media. And while there was a possibility that Chris would make efforts to return to his former self, he'd rather do the opposite and double down on his feminine image, showing up to—
No, I don't know about doubling down on the feminine image. Like, I feel like the term doubling down is like, it's like people always say, like, doubling down whenever it's like a bad opinion or like a very strong opinion or something like that. But, like, I don't know. I think that, this is just might be what he's like more comfortable acting like or being like. I don't know if it's really that complicated.
The Kids' Choice Awards looking like this before making the announcement that he'd been doing HRT for approximately 2 months, which according to a quick Google search is the medical process for changing genders. Yeah. Chris would expand on this by stating, "Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives. The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare in a first world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies," which—
This is, by the way, I want to make sure that you guys understand this. This is not something that's unique to it's not unique to, like, HRT. So, like, for example, like, this is a very very recent example, is like they're trying to take my dad off of one of his pain medications because the DEA wants to regulate it differently, even though the doctor wants to give him the medication. And all of the doctors that he sees and the people that think that he should have this medication, well, the DEA, because they made a classification on the drug, now he can't get the drug. And, like, he used to take fucking hydrocodone and morphine, and they took him off of that like 10 years ago, and he had to go through like withdrawals and like fucking everything, going off of like morphine and hydrocodone that he was taking for like chronic fucking pain, because he only has like, I think he has one vertebrae on his back that works. That's about it. So it's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. So I know there might be some people who are, you know, they're not fans of trans people, etc. But I hope that you can look past that and realize that what Chris is saying is very true, and it's a huge issue. And the HRT is just it's the tip of the iceberg.
Received a positive response from both Carl and MrBeast, who wrote, "Got you, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend." While his co-workers expressed positivity, others weren't so welcoming. There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man times. Chris responded to
Yeah, this is a
this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love. I mean,
to be fair, I'm sure the kid's going to get made fun of a lot in school because of it. It sucks, but I don't think that means that Chris shouldn't do what's best for him. You know, he should definitely do that. At the end of the day, you know, like, he's doing the best he can for his kid, but he's also got to live his own life and do what he has to do and be who he has to be, right? I think that's fair. Truth is that, yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, like, the hard times create, you know, fucking strong men. Like, yeah, I think there's, like, some truth to that. But I don't really think this is necessarily an example of it. Especially with, like, if you contextualize Chris coming out about transitioning, Chris never even said anything about it until it went super viral on Twitter. It's not like he really made a big announcement about this, because before that he was like, hey, I'm just changing who I am, etc. And I think that's kind of the best way to do it, because I think that the way to treat people like that is to just treat them the same. Like, I don't know, like, I'm sure it's awkward and weird for, like, you know, MrBeast and all of them, like, to have a friend that's going through something like that. I'm sure it's confusing. It's very complicated. It's the same as, like, you've probably had friends that have gone through, like, really big, like, personal changes like that, and it's probably really hard to deal with. Sure, and I think that this is probably the same thing. Again, it's not, doesn't mean that Chris is wrong. It's just that that's what happens. And yeah, PTSD. Yeah, PTSD is a good example of that. And overall, like, I don't really think it's that big of a surprise that you know, it could make people uncomfortable, or people might have a hard time adapting to it or whatever. But I mean, you've got to remember, like, yeah, they work together, everything like that, but he's their friend, and so they're probably going to try to support their friend. That's what really matters. Chat's imploding in a civil war. Well, there's a lot of people, you have to keep in mind that there's a lot of people that are in, like, Western culture have, like, such a Western-centric mindset for this that I don't think they realize that in many places in the world, I don't know about most places, I'm not sure, but in many places in the world, you're not able to be trans. Like, most places in the world, as far as I know, I don't think have a positive view of trans people. So you shouldn't be surprised whenever there's people in chat that, and this, I mean, this is a global chat. Any English speaker can come into this chat and talk. So if somebody from a country that it's against the law to be gay comes in here, they see this, well, of course there's going to be a culture shock. So yeah, that's how it is. Like Russia, I don't know how they do in China. It's divisive in America too. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that we're on a global platform here, and there's going to be people who disagree with it. And, like, I think it's silly. I've always been very outspoken about letting people do whatever they want to do, because I think that's the only way that you can, like, how can you truly live if you can't be who you are? That even if you disagree with what a person's doing with their life, it's still their life to do it with. Like you can express discontent or disagree with it or whatever, and whenever you're hurting other people, right? Oh, I want to be a drunk driver. Well, it's too bad, but for things that aren't really like he's not killing anybody, he's not hurting anybody by taking HRT. He's just doing it to himself. Now, I think that people should have the right to, do what they want to their own bodies, so long as they're not hurting other people. His family? Well, I think that's his family's decision. That is, his family should be deciding whether they're okay with that, and not the government or not a society of people that doesn't know him. I don't think that's really fair. Because, he's spraying this bullshit to children watching MrBeast video. Yeah, I mean, I think that you can make that argument with a lot of stuff. For example, I'm sure that people said the same thing with MrBeast blinding people, or not, curing people of blindness, and giving people money, etc. Yeah, I think that people say the same thing, and there's an element of truth to that, sure, but also people choose to watch MrBeast's videos. All the kids that are watching his videos are choosing to watch his videos. And I mean, if they don't want to watch the videos because of Chris, then that's their own prerogative. I'm not going to tell a 12-year-old what to do, right? I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So, I don't know. As you're becoming liberal and anti-God, I can't support this. I don't really get that. I've always been very outspoken. It's weird for me to hear people say that, because you guys know I volunteered to work with Planned Parenthood and the other Greenpeace, other political organizations of that time, the Occupy Wall Street type stuff. I applied to do that, and I got hired to do that in 2009, right? I was 19. So it's just where is this coming from? I think that any time that I express any sort of political opinion, people think that I am extremely super progressive or super conservative or something like that. This is my general opinion. People should be able to do what they want to do so long as they're not hurting other people. I think also people in general have the right to hurt themselves. If you want to do something that's unhealthy for yourself, I think that's fine. I don't want to go around, and the reason why is that everybody can say, whoa, well, what about this? What about that? I don't want to spend my money, my tax money, on enforcing this. I don't want to enforce my worldview on somebody else. I don't want to spend my money on this. It's a waste. He's hurting his kid, though. Yeah, I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I think there's plenty of people that are hurting their kid. I would argue that being an alcoholic will probably hurt your kid probably more than being trans in every single way. Should we make it against the law to be an alcoholic? No. Now, I think that we should provide a ton of help for those people. We should do everything, but I don't want to put them in jail. That's not the solution. I don't want to waste my fucking money on this shit. I don't. It's a fucking waste of my money. Stop it.
going to be a great parent, and so is every other person who puts the love of their child before everything. I made this decision because I wanted to show up as my best and happiest self for him. In a way, this was for Tucker. Chris's response received some positivity such as, "I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life, as well as I adore that. I'm glad you made that decision."
I don't know. I mean, I don't... Like, why everybody... Like, I love how everybody is so confident and so certain about how this is going to affect this kid. How the fuck do you know? Like, this kid's life is probably totally fucking different than an average kid already because his dad is, like, this famous person on the internet. Like, this is a unique circumstance to begin with. Who the fuck knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I tell you one thing, it's not my fucking business. And what I really mean by that is it's not my fucking problem.
It's so much easier to be a parental figure when you're not struggling with dysphoria, yet he'd also receive an equal amount of backlash. You ripped apart your family and took a father figure away from your son just so you could paint your nails and act zesty. Pathetic. He will get torn apart at school, won't want to have friends around his house, a life full of difference and being alone. Must have missed...
I bet kids probably at school might tease him or make fun of him, or like, I bet kids treat him differently. I don't know what the response is, to be fair. But I could assume, at least, I don't know. Again, I'm not sure. But, like, I don't know, like, I feel like if I was in school and I found out that, like, one of my friend's parents was, like, really famous or something like that, that would change the way that kids, like, would probably interact with that other kid. I think. Like, I don't know. Kids can be really brutal. Well, kids are going to be brutal about anything.
The point in that tweet. How's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure? Although Chris wasn't altered by these comments, as he'd once again reiterate his certainty in a new post reading, "It's never too late to start being yourself," which received praise from MrBeast as well as Nolan and Carl. However, these comments also added extra fuel to the fire. In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends. Only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe. MrBeast responded to this with a simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, "I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life." In some
I think that it's a very complex issue whenever you have and like also like the thing is like he probably could have just talked to MrBeast probably talked to Chris about it, and like I'm sure they had honest conversations about it. Like, what's wrong? What's wrong with that? Do you think it's unreasonable to feel uncomfortable around someone like this? I don't know. I think people feel uncomfortable around a lot of types of people. I don't really see this as like as one point on the graph. No, I think it's kind of weird. I think that also like there's plenty of people that I'm uncomfortable around, and it's not because there's something really weird about them. It's how they act. I think whenever somebody makes me uncomfortable, it's how they act, not really how they look, usually. I would say. If it makes you uncomfortable, that's on you, not them. And yeah, also, like, if it makes you uncomfortable, then stop being around them. Yeah, I mean, I'm not telling... The thing is, like, I don't tell people, like, oh, well, you have to be okay with everything, and you can't ever choose not to be around somebody. Like, then just stop being around them. Because, like, whenever I say let people be who they want to be, that's a two-way street. So, like, if you don't want to be around somebody like that, then just don't do it. Like, I don't want to force somebody to do that. That's crazy. How can you force someone to feel a certain way about something? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stay in your lane. Stay. Don't worry about what other people are doing, man. If you're ruining your life, then it's suddenly not your friend's problem. Take accountability. Yeah, and I think that's also true. I mean, it's Chris's life. It's not MrBeast's life. It's not Carl's life. It's his life. And so if he wants to, quote, ruin his life or do anything like that, it's his life to ruin. And he has the right to do that because he's an individual. And if you can't be who you want to be, then why are you? What's the point? Are we good? Yeah, Matrix got me. Yeah, obviously. If MrBeast stops supporting him or doing what you're suggesting, he's going to get canceled. No. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know what the complexities of that is. Yeah, I think it would look really bad if, you know, Carl or Chris, sorry, started transitioning and then MrBeast and them stopped collaborating with him. I don't know, like, what would really happen. I think that there's always, like, whenever things look really bad for somebody, I think that everybody needs to remember that people watch MrBeast's videos because they're good videos. They don't watch MrBeast's videos because they really like MrBeast. Most of them probably don't even know his name. They just watch his videos. He's like the #1 YouTube personality. He just hits the main page and people watch him and browse. So, yes, obviously he would get canceled by some Twitter weirdos, but what the fuck does that do? I think people have like such a distorted view on things that you think that a few viral tweets that are bad about you are going to end your career. No, they're not. Just keep making videos. Who cares? Look at Keemstar. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Oh, no, not the tweets. Yeah, canceling means nothing. Yeah, the only thing that would matter is if you get banned. Twitter is morality police? Yes, and they often don't practice the same thing they preach. They're just the kinds of people, like, that's why you shouldn't take it seriously. Like, I don't get mad about it. It's just not worth thinking about.
In some ways, it was nice to see the boys standing up for Chris on Twitter. However, the situation has already begun to change the dynamic within the videos. For example, in a recent live stream titled Opening 1,000...
Well, I don't know why this is surprising to anybody. There's a lot of people that don't like trans people out there. Like, this is not a secret. Like, it's fucking obvious. What are we even doing here? Of course. There's entire countries where it's illegal. I don't know. I don't know the laws in being trans in every country. I don't know what it's like in China, Russia, Japan, I've seen crazy shit that happens in Africa. I don't know what the fuck their laws are on this, but there's some places in Africa where apparently they kill you if you're gay. So I assume that this might be the same. Middle East, I think you can pretty much assume is the same. South America, really hard to say. So it's like, you shouldn't be surprised that a lot of people don't like something whenever you have a global audience, and the way that a global audience interprets something is going to be very different whenever it's put in front of them. Like, that's just, like, it's a massive social issue. Everybody's talking about it. That doesn't mean MrBeast is wrong. Just because a lot of people disagree with you doesn't make you wrong. I don't understand why people have like this. This is a very bad thing I think the internet's created. And I think Reddit's probably the worst part for this, worst place for this. It's why I actually like 4chan. Is that on 4chan, you can post the hottest, most unpopular take, and your post is just as popular and just as promoted as every other person out there who is repeating the same exact thing. But the problem is that on Reddit, the people who are popular, the people who get the most visibility, are the ones that appeal and appear to the hive mind. They're the ones that toe the company line. They say the right thing at the right time, or they have the funny, you know, the funny joke or something like that. And I think YouTube is the same thing. You know, bigger number, better person. So just because a lot of people disagree with you about something doesn't make you wrong. And also, like, there's a certain issue where, like, nobody knows what really the right answer for this is. Like with the trans stuff. Because every single person is different. You don't know Chris. You're not sure. So people are basing it off of, oh, well, I knew somebody who was like this, or based off of the statistics, or based off of something else, based off of this or that, based on how I feel. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, it's crazy. It's all speculation. Yeah, it's all speculation. Disagreeing on places like Reddit and Twitter can get you banned. Well, yeah, it can. And that's the thing is I'm sure a lot of people were probably blindsided by the amount of negativity about this. But the truth is that the reason why you haven't seen so much anti-trans sentiment is because everybody who expressed it for the past few years has gotten banned. Now that Elon owns Twitter and you can't really get banned for saying that stuff anymore, you're seeing a lot more people saying it. It's not like there were more people that started that didn't believe this. It's just that they were shut down and they couldn't have it, like they were just getting deplatformed. But what happened is that they all went to Rumble or they went to another platform. And at a certain point, if you deplatform enough people, you create another platform. And like, look at Kick, for example. Rumble is, again, these are all websites that have a fraction of the population that YouTube does, but it's not where they are, it's where they're going. So yeah, what I'm saying is it was definitely an echo chamber. This for me, like, this is not a surprise at all. Of course people are going to react this way.
History art boxes, Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does. It felt
I think that a lot of times people interpret an interaction between two individuals on stream the way they want to. Like, for example, I remember whenever I would do streams with Izzy, and I would have comments like, wow, they are so great together. This is so natural. It's so great. And then other people that are like micro-analyzing, look how whenever he moves towards her, she moves her hand away. She wouldn't do that if she was attracted to him. She's in it for the clout. I knew it. Uh-huh. Yep, just another one, boys. Man. Just like my ex-girlfriend, huh? So yeah. How's that a relevant comparison? The reason why it's a relevant comparison is because people go into the video with MrBeast with a negative opinion of what Chris did, a negative opinion of Chris's transition, and they go into the video with a negative opinion of how his friends are going to interpret that transition. So they're going into it with that bias in mind. And whenever all you have is a hammer, a lot of things look like nails. So you're going in there looking for that type of an interaction. So a blank interaction that would just probably be nonchalant or irrelevant or just like completely not important, now it's being microanalyzed. And it's being microanalyzed by people who have, number one, their own bias and opinion about the subject that they're not going to change. Number two, that have no personal interaction with any of the people in the video, and so they don't know how they act personally. And number three, you're only seeing a very small window of that interaction through a camera. You see what I'm saying?
Felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and therefore everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment enjoying each other's company. Maybe everybody was simply too busy opening packages, but Chris did make these bizarre jokes about Jimmy being female, making him incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh my god, Jimmy, look, they drew you. Jimmy, they drew you so well. It looks just like you.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, it's Jimmy.
Yeah.
Fan art. This is what we were looking for.
Yeah, I think it's probably it's probably really hard for them, you know? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, no, it's probably pretty hard. Because, like, you know, like, obviously, like, I mean, you've got to remember, like, these guys are really good friends, and like, this is his friend, and his friend just went through a fucking divorce. He's going through this transition thing. His friend's getting harassed on the internet constantly. He's getting harassed constantly. They've never dealt with this level of criticism before. It's like, you know, fucking thousands of people all the time. Like, you have to look at what the relationship is between them, and, like, you have to contextualize that to an extent. And I don't really know everything about it, but yeah, it probably fucked up his head, like, having that many people that were like shitting on him. And then, you know, MrBeast, it's like it must be really hard dealing with this. Straight up, like, I feel like it's probably really hard. I guess it sucks to be famous sometimes. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, everything sucks sometimes. That's it. There's no excuse to act like that. I don't know. Like, I've had friends of mine that have been in, you know, bad situations and they've made other people uncomfortable. It's just, you know, sometimes life is like that. Yeah, it sucks.
Be honest, be kind, MrBeast. That is my tagline.
Becoming even weirder when each member started to pay each other compliments.
Hey,
I gotta eat one of these candies, see if they're any good. I gotta get all MrBeast to send me some of these.
Shirt. Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Thanks. Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
For the most part, the live stream was devoid of awkward moments. However, it would act as fodder.
Well, and it's also like a problem where they can't really probably make any jokes about it, because if they make jokes about it, then you're gonna get hit coming both ways, right? You're gonna get people that are like really liberal that don't like you making jokes about it and don't like you goofing around about it, and then you're also gonna have people that like you doing it and then they don't take it as a joke and then they just keep shitting on them. So it's like, you know, that you're under this like massive fucking microscope and you can't approach the like you can't approach something like this like a normal person would, because you're in front of an audience of so many people that they desperately don't want you to be a normal person. They want to take things out of context as much as possible. You see what I'm saying? So like they can't even act probably how they act off camera. I think this is 100% like it's probably very stressful for them. Why would people care so much about this? But will it hurt MrBeast brand? Well, let me finish the video. I'll talk about it more.
For another 100 million views worth of drama and criticism. Chris likely believes that people will slowly adapt to his new appearance over time, but is this really going to happen? Well, maybe.
No, it won't. There's just people that don't like trans people. They're not going to like him in a year after he's been trans for a year. They're going to like him less. That's just that. I mean, some people will. Some people, they'll adapt to it. A lot of people will not. And that's the truth.
Difficult to say as the situation is fairly unique, especially when considering Chris's reputation and influence. However, if Chris continues to transition, would it be unreasonable to say that he could jeopardize some of the personality traits which made him a successful member in the first place?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like, I mean, changing your gender and everything, that's definitely going to have people see you differently. And I think that absolutely there will be people that were used to be fans of him that are not fans anymore. And I'm sure he knows that. That's Chris's decision to make. Like that's because he's making that decision himself.
Perhaps the opposite will happen, and he'll instead pick up new personality traits that better resonate with the current MrBeast audience. This was put forward in many comments supportive of Chris, who implied that there'll be millions of queer kids who look up to him, although this doesn't necessarily mean that it'll add any value to the videos. MrBeast has likely cultivated a massive LGBT audience, all of whom are already watching anyway, and if we've learned anything from Hollywood in recent years, it's that adding over-the-top LGBT characters for the sake of relatability rarely works as intended and is often nothing more than a distraction from the premise of the movie or video.
Well, if the only reason why he's there is because he's trans, like, yeah, I think that's very true, but this is like his friend he's had for years, so it's not really the same thing. Like, I think that's a lot different. Like, comparing, you know, adding some character into a story for a diversity quota to your friend transitioning, like, these are two very different things. And, of course, people will interpret it to be the same. And I do think that, like, at a certain level, yeah, there probably will be people, definitely, that will stop watching the videos because of Chris. Absolutely. And I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm not saying it's anything. I'm just saying this is what's going to happen. And the thing is, I don't know who, like, I don't really like becoming this hypothetical, but I'm assuming that Chris probably talked to MrBeast about this a lot. like off camera. And he's like, do you think I should like not be into videos anymore or anything like that? And I bet MrBeast said, no, fuck that. You're my friend. I want you to keep being into videos. The truth is, like, if I had a friend that transitioned, that's what I would fucking say. Because at the end of the day, I mean, he's already going to be successful. There's nobody, I think, it even really comes close to Chris, or sorry, not Chris, MrBeast in terms of like popularity. And I think that being true to who you are and sticking by your friends rather than trying to chase view count and trying to just constantly, like, I mean, he's already gotten like how many billion views? Like, how, like, at what point, like, when's it enough? Like, why not stand by your friend? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think that's what makes sense. So yeah, true friends love you unconditionally. Yeah, that's what I would say. You know, his viewers drop it to half. He'll still be one of the biggest. I think he probably would be the biggest. Yeah, stand by our previously. Yeah, I mean, that's your friend. And that's what really matters. Like MrBeast is set for life. He's fucking super rich. What are you doing with your life? Like, it's more important for you to keep pandering to people. And it's also like, think about the kind of people that are that you're retaining. You're retaining people that would leave you and stop being your fan just because of a person that you're friends with. Is this really something that you want to do?
On top of this, it can be uncomfortable and unrelatable for the silent majority, although as we have seen, a situation like Chris's does have the potential to create an otherworldly amount of discussion, which could be seen as a benefit for the MrBeast brand.
I think that you'll really not know, I don't think you're going to know if this is a positive or not for like 2 more years. Because that's how long something like this is going to take to really play out.
Drama is good for growth, 100%. That would be an easy way to up my
So
views
you're
if
a
I got
Keemstar
it.
The problem is this type of situation is probably the last thing that MrBeast wants to attract, as he's forced to agree with Chris.
And like, I don't know MrBeast, you know, like privately. I've never talked to him or anything like that. Contrary to the 4chan copy pasta, we don't have meetings about how to, you know, take over the... MrBeast, did I say that? Take over the fucking internet or something like that, because we both are represented by the same agency. It's just that actually doesn't happen. Hell, I've never spoken to the guy. I have no idea anything about him. But if he's anything like my friends, I bet they probably joke about this shit all the time behind closed doors. They probably fuck around with it all the time. And you know why? It's because they're friends. And that's probably what I would do. That's what all my friends would do. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But it's like whenever you're in front of a big audience like that, anything that he says about the topic is going to be like a massive fucking thing. Yeah. Oh God. It's the worst. It's the worst thing to be part of. They're scared to talk about online. No. Yeah. Wouldn't you be? Anything that you say is going to get like fucking micro-analyzed. You're going to see videos like this, tweets come up on like videos that have 1 million views. You think you want to fucking deal with that? Oh, fuck. That'd be awful.
His position, as he has no way of manipulating the situation without being painted as the bad guy. It's a lose-lose situation for MrBeast. I think Jimmy is in an inescapable situation. If he kicks out Chris, cancelled. If he don't, his channel will die for real.
Like as I said, I don't know this, but I bet that Chris probably offered to MrBeast, hey, you know, if you want me to stop being part of the channel, I will. And I bet MrBeast said, no, fuck that. You can still be part of the channel. I highly doubt that he just randomly started doing it without even asking them. That's a big assumption. Yeah, Sonny's making. I mean, I don't know. I think that if MrBeast did kick him out for being trans, people would be upset about it, but I don't think it would really affect viewer count that much. Probably not. Because people will be mad about it on Twitter for a while, and then, you know, like, again, MrBeast's audience is like a lot of browse viewers on YouTube, so it's not like they're not going to make that decision.
An inescapable situation is a pretty good way of describing the drama, which is also why it deserves the harsh label of being a nightmare. Jimmy has no option but...
Did he really ask MrBeast before he decided to be trans? No, he didn't ask MrBeast if he could be trans or not. But he said, listen, you know, I'm going through a lot and I'm going to do this. And I know that it can be really weird for the channel. Like, this is probably what I think happened, right? He's probably said that. He's like, listen, do you want me to just, you know, not be part of the channel anymore or what? And I bet Chris probably asked him that. Like, these guys have been friends for years. I don't know.
To publicly express acceptance of Chris's transition.
Look at this, starting to say Strong actually wants to cry. Like, this is just like, holy shit. Oh my god.
And a silence or even worse, disapproval would come with obvious severe repercussions. However, in accepting Chris's transition, Jimmy implies that this will be the new normal within the content, thus annoying a different group of people, many of whom will never express their true feelings and may rather simply click on fewer MrBeast videos. If this
that's true. I think that there will be a good number of people that will stop watching the videos because Chris is in them. Because a lot of people don't like trans people. Like, that's just what's going to happen. Sure.
This is the case, Jimmy has no option but to accept this fate, as removing Chris from the videos in any kind of way could create an even more severe media firestorm. The only clean solution, should things go south, might be for Chris to resign himself, and even then rumors and bad press will be unavoidable. Whether it be arrogance or ignorance, Chris...
To be fair, if Chris had stepped down and then transitioned, people would have said that MrBeast made him step down because he didn't want Chris to damage the brand. Even if Chris did that completely voluntarily. Like, this is a literal no-win situation because everybody is going into it and they already have it. They know what happened and they're just going to tell you what happened.
Seems oblivious to how this whole thing might impact Jimmy, forgetting that he achieved his current level of success by avoiding this exact type of drama.
I don't really think that the reason why MrBeast is popular is because he avoided drama. I think that's kind of I don't know. I think that's kind of silly. Like, obviously, it's commendable, and I think it's mentioned a lot that MrBeast avoids drama and, you know, never really gets involved in that kind of stuff. And I think that, yeah, sure, it probably helped a bit. But to say that, like, that's why he's successful, I feel like that's a little bit compartmentalizing. MrBeast replied to the video on Twitter. Well, I mean, like, obviously, you know, he's going to defend his friend, and that's all there is to it. I'll read what he said. Sure, why not? Let me see if I can find it. MrBeast. Let's see. Yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's a fucking friend. Things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to piss me off. Well, yeah, because, like, and I feel like anybody would feel that way. To have a bunch of people that don't know you, that have never met you, that also, I bet in a big sense, like, are massively less successful than you, try to tell you, the most subscribed YouTuber, this is what you need to do. Yeah, I bet it would probably piss me off too if I was in his position. Absolutely, it's fucking annoying. Let's see here. We're gonna stop dumping on Chris, let them live their life. I mean, why do people care so much? I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons. It's very complex. I think, like, there's a lot of social reasons. You have to remember, again, you see this amount of negative feedback and stuff like this because it's on the internet, and the internet is a global platform. And inside of a global platform, guess what happens? You have a ton of people who are part of cultures that actively do not like and do not accept trans people. So guess what happens? Those people come into my chat. They come into this video. They come into, any of these things, and they have their opinion on it. And it's like, what do you lock them up? Well, just like, what are you going to do? Like, they're not even in the U.S. Like, what are you going to put some guy in India in jail for this? No, it's crazy. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the majority of Americans as well. Well, I'm not sure about the majority of Americans. Maybe, maybe not. I think that the majority of Americans probably don't give a fuck and they don't want to hear about it. That's what I think the majority of Americans think about pretty much every single social issue. Don't fucking bother me with your problems. I don't want to hear about them. Do whatever you want to do on your own time. That's what most Americans, I believe, think. It's not that they don't care about trans people. It's not that they do. It's that they don't care about that person, period. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear about them. That's it. Most Americans, yes, they're agenda phobic. And I think that, like, you don't see those people that have these opinions because they're not on the internet consuming content that's made for opinionated people. That's just how it is. See my friends? Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. I got my own problems. I don't burden other people with them. Sure. It's trending cult culture too. When a change happens, people side with, others depart. Yeah, for sure. It's closed-minded boomer, wherever they're from. No, I don't think it's closed-minded boomers. I think that there's a lot of people who have this outlook that are younger too. I think there's a lot of them. And the only reason you're seeing more of it now is that they don't get banned for expressing themselves. So yeah, no one would care, but it's in people's face all the time. Well, then it's their prerogative to not watch that content. I think that, again, if you don't like the content that you're being provided and you have that opinion, then just stop watching it. That's all you can do. Because they don't agree with it doesn't make them a boomer. Yeah. It's just that's people have a different viewpoint on things. And again, like, there are a lot of things that, like, for example, I completely support, like, being gay and stuff like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I've felt that way since I was like 7 years old, 8 years old, whenever I first learned, like, what it was about. It's totally fine. And by the way, this is the same guy who I only watched lesbian porn growing up whenever I was a kid because I thought if you watched it with a dude, you'd be gay. I'm not gay. I'm not into guys. In a way, it would be more convenient if I was, because there would be more options. There's a lot of girls don't like the way I live. But it's just not how I'm wired. It's it. I've had dudes grab my dick multiple times. Sorry. It's just, it doesn't work. It's not for me. So, yeah, No, bro, I grew up in Austin. I've had a lot of people downtown and like these dark, crowded places grab me. And it was not just Train. That was just one time of many. Okay? Yeah, the Trainwrecks television situation was one of many.